What up, what up? It is Alex, the Fantasy Football Hustler, back at you with another IDP video for you IDP savants. If it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. I'm always trying to deep dive for you guys. We're talking about players that are rostered in 10% or less on Sleeper. I got linebackers for you. I got defensive linemen, and I got some DBs for you. Let's get down to biz. Nik Bonitto is the first linebacker that I got to talk about. He's on bye in week 14, but this is someone that you need to pick up for the stretch run. He has been dominating over 20 points in each of the last 3 weeks. After week 3 of the season, he only has 1 game in single digits. If you play on Sleeper, you can actually plug him in as a defensive lineman. The interception to the house was huge and it was great, but he has been doing very solid without touchdowns to the house. He keeps getting sacks week after week. He keeps getting to the quarterback. He has been so consistent, and he's one of the reasons why the Denver Broncos defense is thriving in general. So if he's still available, shame on you. But if it's your first week here and this is the first time you heard this, go pick him up.
Pick him up!
Next guy is going to be Troy Dye for the Los Angeles Chargers. He's been around there for a handful of years. The reason why he got an uptick in snaps this week is Denzel Perryman is out. He's been out for a few weeks. They gave the other guy, Nick, they gave him a try. He didn't really do much. Troy Dye plays this week, gets a majority of the snaps, and gets 14 total tackles. As long as Denzel Perryman's out, I bet that those snaps are his. So if he's available, go pick him up.
Pick him up!
Just be paying attention to Denzel Perryman. I still cannot believe that Christian Rozeboom is still available. Here comes the boom. Go pick him up. He's 5% rostered in Sleeper. Very available. The last 5 weeks, he has been on a tear. No less than 15 points in each of the last 5 weeks. And 3 of those games, he was above 20 points. 4 out of his last 5 games, double-digit total tackles. We love that with our linebackers. So if he's available, shame on you, but make that move. Next guy on the list here, Nolan Smith, 10% rostered. I think his higher roster percentage ship is because you can plug him in as a D lineman as well as a linebacker. He's the will linebacker for the Eagles, but since Brandon Graham got hurt and hit the IR, Nolan Smith, he's been getting more snaps. Had a killer of a game this past week, 8 total tackles and a sack. I would just expect his snap percentage to stay high. A lot of these games that the Eagles are winning, they just let these guys go after the quarterback. So that's why I think that you need to pick up Nolan Smith. If you are on Sleeper, even more of a reason because you plug him in as a DL and we are looking for these cheat codes. One more linebacker for you. Omar Speights, the rookie. Speights, either way, the rook from LSU, who's now on the Los Angeles Rams. Over the last 4 weeks, his snap percentage over the last 4 weeks as high as it's been. And in those 4 weeks, double-digit points, each of them. This past week, 10 total tackles. We love to see that. Teams are running a lot on the Rams. And Omar S., him and Rozeboom, they're getting a lot of tackles over there. He's 0% rostered. He's one of those shh, don't tell nobody people.
But don't tell nobody.
Let's go pick him up.
Pick him up!
I got a few D linemen that you got to pick up here. The first guy that I'm going to highlight, LJ Collier. He's healthy again. His snap percentage back to where it should be since their bye week. And he has at least 1 sack in each of the last 2 games since their bye week. He had 2 this past week. For those listening in audio, he plays on the Arizona Cardinals, and the Arizona Cardinals defense has been doing way better as of recent than they were in the beginning of the season. And LJ is one of their linemen that's bringing the heat. They always have him rushing the quarterback, and he's been getting there over the last couple weeks. You got Seattle and New England coming up. Both of those teams give up a lot of sacks to the QBs. So if he's available, pick him up.
Pick him up!
And you better fire him up.
All right. Fire him up!
Now, I don't usually bring up too many defensive tackles, but I actually got 2 defensive tackles for the linemen in this video. The first one, Mr. Gervon Dexter, plays on the Chicago Bears. He's 0% rostered, so definitely one of those don't tell nobody.
But don't tell nobody.
As it gets colder in Chicago, there is going to be more running. There's going to be more sacks. There's going to be more confusion and all types of things going down. They got San Fran and Minnesota over the next 2 weeks. San Fran is in shambles. Minnesota and Darnold love to give up sacks to the opposing teams. He played Minnesota 2 weeks ago, double-digit points. And there's really nobody out there right now. So that's why we got to dive deep and find guys like this, because all the good defensive linemen have been rostered for weeks and weeks. But that's why you guys hang out here, so you guys can find some of these diamonds in the rough.
Diamond in the rough.
With there being really no D linemen out there, I had to dive deep. We had to go to a dirty part of the waiver wire. We got to get a little sloppy here with BJ Hill. Oh, yeah, for the Cincinnati Bengals. Their line has been very hard to judge because they've been running like 4 defensive ends pretty much all the time. But BJ Hill is that clog right in the middle of the defensive line, always getting a decent amount of tackles, getting to the QB now and again. Main reason why I want to get him on here is for his stretch of teams that he is going up against. Because if you're just looking at his stats on here, outside of this 22-point game, single digits most of the time. But they got the Cowboys coming up this week. Great matchup. Then you got the Titans. That's a great matchup right there for your defensive linemen. And then you got the Cleveland Browns. These might be 3 of the top teams that you want to deploy your defensive linemen against. So BJ Hill, it might be a little bit sloppy, but pick him up.
Pick him up.
And fire him up.
All right, fire him up.
And even if it seems wrong,
You can do it!
we made it to the defensive backs. First guy I'm putting on the map, 2% rostered, Jaquan McMillian for the Broncos. He has a bye this week, so just like Nik Bonitto, you're picking him up more for the stretch than for this week. There's a lot of throwing that happens on the Denver Broncos, and teams are always shying away from Patrick Surtain Jr. And as long as Riley Moss is out, Jaquan McMillian is going to be getting more and more tackles. So if he's available, go pick him up.
Pick him up.
But I got a couple other guys here that you might like even more than him. I got another Chargers player here that you should be rostering. 4 out of the last 5 weeks, double-digit points from the Rook, Tarheeb Still. He's one of their cornerbacks. Actually has the most snaps played for the Chargers at corner this year. He had a really big game this past week because of 2 interceptions and a touchdown. Normally just a guy who's living and dying off of his tackles, but gets a lot of tackles, especially with the injuries that have been going down to the secondary specifically. Playing damn near all the snaps. Fire him up.
All right, fire him up.
Now, you know that I'm always trying to dive super deep and find people that you've never heard of, that nobody else has never heard of. I got one for you. The newly named Nickelback for the Carolina Panthers, Chau Smith-Wade.
It's a Chau. Leslie Chau.
Yes, and this is someone you don't tell anybody about.
But don't tell nobody.
He's their rookie. He's the new Nickelback. 8 total tackles in this past week. Look at the teams that he's going up against. Philly, the Cowboys, Arizona. A lot of throwing going to be going down on these teams. And since he's the Nickelback out there, there may be times where he's rushing the quarterback or going after the running backs. A lot of opportunities for tackles, and that's what we want. So just remember.
But don't tell nobody.
Here's one more. Don't tell nobody.
But don't tell nobody.
Diving real deep, Daryl Worley, 0% rostered. Yes, I know you've never heard of him. Plays for the Titans because of all the injuries to their secondary. Daryl Worley is now the starting free safety. Crazy. You've never heard of him. And what did he do this past week? 17 total tackles. That is insane. He's got the Jags, the Bengals, Colts, the Jags again. It is going to be a very awesome stretch. And the guy whose spot he's taking, Quandre Diggs, he's out for the year. So we don't have to worry about someone coming back and taking his spot. The one thing that the Titans have been doing well is defending the run. I know they've given up a couple big ones here and there, but because they're so good at defending the run, what do teams do? They throw the ball on them way more. And now with no L'Jarius Sneed, they're just throwing the ball more. And Daryl Worley is going to be getting a shitload of tackles, being the new named free safety over there. And you're welcome.
Pick him up!
Yes, and there you have it, another IDP video for you IDP savants. Salute to you. Don't forget, if you need IDP leagues to play in, make sure you come see me, because the next leagues that are going to start with IDP are happening for the NFL playoffs. We start drafting in a month from now. It's going to be offense plus IDP, the way that it should be. Make sure you go join the community on Patreon at 420crew.com. You can join for free just to stay in the loop. You can join as a paid member. I recommend doing that because I drop different types of IDP information that you can find nowhere else. And I got dynasties with IDP that are going to be starting to draft in February and then pretty much every month after. So make sure you go join the crew, 420crew.com, so you can stay in the mix of all of this. And don't forget to go get yourself a shirt at 420crewmerch.com. T-shirts are still on sale for $12.50. That sale is going to end very soon, so go pick one up today. Right now, as a matter of fact. I dropped the offensive waiver wire video. That'll be popping up here in a second. And then make sure you subscribe so you can come hang out on the live streams where you can get your questions answered. We just chill. We do a lot of smoking and a lot of information and a lot of questions and answers. That is for sure. I'm one of the only guys in the fantasy football space who's creating content, who tries to answer 100% of every question. And most of the time I'm succeeding, even on these crazy Sundays. So hit that subscribe, hit that like. We'll see you on the live stream, and peace out to all the IDP crazies out there. FTD, throw it in the chat if you know what I mean.